Hello there, you're watching News at 10 on Rajya Sabha television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor. The biggest story of the day is US pulling out of the 2015 Paris climate deal. Now, the announcement has drawn a strong reaction from supporters as well as opponents inside America and around the world as well. We will bring you that big story at length in this bulletin and much more from India and across the world, starting with the headlines. US announces withdrawal from Paris climate agreement, says deal favors China and India. World leaders express disappointment. India and Russia ink agreement to build 2 last units of Kudankulam nuclear power plant. India also gets entry into the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Arun Jaitley allays fears of economic slowdown due to demonetization, assures the security forces are in a position of strength at line of control. "34 bodies found at a Manila casino complex, including that of lone gunman. Police say incident at Philippines resort appears to be a robbery attempt. And Annie Murray and Stan Wawrinka reached the 3rd round of men's singles at the French Open. Bopanna and partner winning the opening match of mixed doubles. The biggest story this morning, we are getting out. With those words, US President Donald Trump announced his country's withdrawal from the 2015 Paris Climate Accord. Now, Trump said that he was open to renegotiating aspects of the agreement, which was inked under his predecessor, Barack Obama. Now, the step fulfills a campaign promise while acutely dampening global efforts to curb global warming. United Nations and world leaders expressed disappointment over the US's move.
So we're getting out, but we will start to negotiate, and we will see if we can make a deal that's fair. And if we can, that's great. And if we can't, that's fine.
Donald Trump confirming that the US will quit Paris climate agreement. The world's second largest greenhouse gas emitter will remove itself from the global treaty, quitting the international effort to address dangerous global warming. Trump claimed that the accord harms American jobs.
The Paris Climate Accord is simply the latest example of Washington entering into an agreement that disadvantages the United States to the exclusive benefit of other countries, leaving American workers, who I love, and taxpayers to absorb the cost in terms of lost jobs, lower wages, shuttered factories, and vastly diminished economic production.
The Paris Agreement of 2015 commits the US and 187 other nations to keep global temperature rises well below 2 degrees Celsius. Speaking at the White House, Trump claimed rival economies like China and India were treated more favorably in the pact.
Under the agreement, China will be able to increase these emissions by a staggering number of years, 13. They can do whatever they want for 13 years, not us. India makes its participation contingent on receiving billions and billions and billions of dollars in foreign aid from developed countries.
United Nations and leaders world over expressed disappointment over US's decision, saying that it will be an abdication of US leadership on a key global challenge. Former US President Barack Obama, whose administration negotiated the Paris Accord, said that the decision would leave American workers behind those in countries who remain a part of the agreement.
I do respect this decision, but I do think it is an actual mistake, both for the US and for our planet. I reaffirm clearly that the Paris Agreement remains irreversible and will be implemented, not just by France, but by all the other nations.
Canada is deeply disappointed with the U.S. position. The Paris Agreement is a good deal for Canada, and it's a good deal for the world. It will create good jobs. The clean growth economy is where the world is going, and Canada is going to be part of it.
The transformation envisaged in the Paris Agreement is already underway. The Secretary General remains confident that all other parties to the Paris Agreement will continue to demonstrate vision and leadership, along with very many cities, states, and businesses in the United States and around the world, by working for the low-carbon, resilient economic growth that will create quality jobs and markets for the 21st century economic prosperity.
There will be no penalty for leaving with the Paris deal based on the premise of voluntary emissions reductions by participating countries. However, in triggering the official withdrawal procedures, Trump has sparked a lengthy process that would not conclude until November 2020. While Trump said that he was ready to renegotiate the deal, the leaders of France, Italy and Germany said in a joint statement that the US could not unilaterally do so. The UN body that facilitated the deal also said it cannot be renegotiated. Nevertheless, analysts say that the US's withdrawal from the Paris Agreement will make it more difficult for the world to reach the goals that it set for itself in the Paris Agreement.
If we continue to emit carbon emissions at the rate that we have been, if we take that business as usual approach, the climate at the end of the 21st century is going to look pretty unrecognizable relative to the 20th century climate, and that's not going to be a good thing for a lot of people and living things on Earth.
So we're getting out.
Trump also declared that the US would stall all contributions to the United Nations Green Climate Fund. The headquarters of the Paris City administration was lit up in green in protest at the US's decision. The US contributes about 15% of global emissions of carbon, but it is also a significant source of finance and technology for developing countries in their efforts to fight rising temperatures. Bureau Report, Rajya, Sabha TV.
On to some other news, India and Russia have signed several agreements, including the St. Petersburg Declaration. Now, crucial among the agreements is the one for setting up the last two units of Kudankulam nuclear power plant with Moscow's help in Tamil Nadu. Here is a report.
For the period 2017 to
India and Russia signed 5 agreements, including building 2 new reactors for the Kudankulam nuclear power station in Tamil Nadu. Russia also agreed to loan India $4.2 billion to help fund construction.
आज हमने सेंट पीटर्सबर्ग एक ऐलान एडॉप्ट किया है, डिक्लेरेशन एडॉप्ट किया है, एक ऐसा डिक्लेरेशन जो कि न केवल दोनों देशों के आर्थिक तथा राजनीतिक स्थिरता का विकास और मार्ग प्रशस्त करेगा, बल्कि वैश्विक उथल-पुथल में स्थिरता का एक बेंचमार्क साबित होगा.
В ходе нашей беседы с господином премьер-министром было отмечено успешное сотрудничество в сфере мирного атома. Хотел бы на это особо обратить внимание. Введен, как известно, в строй первый блок атомной электростанции Куданкулам, при строительстве которого использовались самые современные и надежные российские технологии. Начал вырабатывать электроэнергию второй блок станции. А в октябре 2016 года на совместной с господином Моди видеоконференции мы дали старт сооружению 3-го и 4-го блоков АЭС. И мы еще раз подтвердили совместные планы возвести в Индии не менее 12 энергоблоков российского дизайна, что станет большим вкладом в реализацию планов по развитию атомной энергетики страны.
Other agreements relate to granting access to Rose patent experts, to Indian Digital Library of Traditional Knowledge, promotion of export of precious stones and jewelry of India, and cultural exchanges. Russia affirmed its strong support to India's candidature for a permanent seat in the reformed UN Security Council and membership in the nuclear supplier group and other non-proliferation regimes. President Putin announced that India will formally become a member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization within a week. The SCO is a political, economic and military bloc founded in 2001 in Shanghai by the leaders of China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan.
Ну, а что касается международных нашего взаимодействия, то здесь хотел бы отметить только одну вещь.
As far as our international cooperation goes, there is one thing I'd like to point out.
Через неделю мы зафиксируем полноформатное вступление Индии в Шанхайскую организацию сотрудничества.
SCO की हमारी मेंबरशिप के लिए भी आपका प्रोएक्टिव रोल रहा, सक्रिय भूमिका रही और उसके कारण अब हम विधिवत रूप से SCO के मेंबर बनने जा रहे हैं। मैं उसके लिए आपने जो कुछ भी इनिशिएटिव लिए, मैं हृदय से आपका आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ।
During the talks, the issue of terrorism also came up for discussion. Russian President Vladimir Putin asserted that no matter where the threat of terrorism comes, it is unacceptable and that Russia always supports India in its fight against it. Putin also refused to have any tight military relations with Pakistan. He assured that Russia's relations with Pakistan will have no impact on trade between India and Russia. After their annual bilateral summit, the two leaders addressed CEOs of the two countries. Prime Minister Modi invited Russian companies to invest in defense and other sectors.
हम अपनी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का हिस्सा GDP में 16 to 25% तक ले जाने के लिए उत्सुक हैं। हमारी नीतियों का निर्धारण भी इसी चीजों को प्रमोशन मिले उस दिशा में रहता है। रूस की कंपनियां हमारे यहाँ इस अभिगम का लाभ लेते हुए भारतीय कंपनियों के साथ भागीदारी करें, इसके लिए मैं उनको निमंत्रण देता हूं और उनका अनुभव उत्तम रहेगा, ये मैं उनको विश्वास दिलाता हूं।
Prime Minister Modi will attend for the first time the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum as guest of honor. Main event of this year's forum, which is modelled on the World Economic Forum, aside from Putin's keynote speech, will be the panel discussion that he and Narendra Modi will participate in. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
On to other news now. Defence Minister Arun Jaitley has assured the country that the Indian Army and the Border Security Force have been dominating the line of control over the past few weeks. He also slammed Pakistan for forming cross-border terrorism and scuttling chances of a dialogue.
Indian forces have foiled multiple infiltration attempts by terrorists from Pakistan recently. Defence Minister Arun Jaitley says that this has enabled Indian forces to build pressure on both Indian militant groups and foreign terrorists. Jaitley also stressed that India has taken steps to ease tensions with Pakistan, but the neighbour responded by orchestrating attacks at Indian Army bases in Pathankot and Uri.
At the swearing in of the government, when the SARC neighbours were invited, Pakistan Prime Minister was invited. Our Prime Minister dropped in at Lahore at a social function in Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's family, were all steps intended to ease the tension. But each one of these has been responded by, let us say, a Pathankot or an Uri, or even the mutilation of 2 of our soldiers. And therefore, that environment which must exist for a talk has been successfully prevented by Pakistan.
The Defence Minister also dismissed reports of mounting unrest and public anger in Kashmir and said that the situation on the ground was mostly normal. His assertion came in the wake of clashes between security forces and the public in Kashmir.
फील्ड नंबर स्थिति जो इम्प्रेशन मिलता है उसकी तुलना में काफ़ी सामान्य है। हम लोग भी 3 दिन GST की मीटिंग में वहाँ रहकर आए हैं। दक्षिण कश्मीर के कुछ जिलों के अंदर स्थिति चुनौतीपूर्ण थी। उसके अलावा बाकी कश्मीर में श्रीनगर वगैरह बिल्कुल सामान्य थे।
The army has gunned down a number of militants in the past few weeks, including top Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist Sabzar Bhatt. However, there have been allegations of human rights violations as well. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Finance Minister Arun Jaitley also allayed the impact of demonetization on economic growth and stressed that the current growth of 7 to 8% was fairly reasonable by Indian standards. He also clarified that the RBI will give an accurate figure of defunct notes returned once the counting process gets completed.
A day after government data showed the economy in slowdown, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley dispelled concerns that it was due to demonetization. Against a backdrop of 6.1% growth in the fourth quarter this year, Jaitley outlined the achievements of the NDA government in the last 3 years. He said demonetization created a new normal and was a joint step in squeezing out the cash and shadow economy.
There are several factors which can contribute to a GDP in a particular quarter. Some slowdown visible given the global and the domestic situation, even prior to the demonetization in the last year. But I do believe that in the current global situation, a 7 to 8% growth, which is at the moment the Indian normal, is a fairly reasonable, by global standards very good, by our own standards fairly reasonable level of growth.
Jaitley reiterated that improving position on non-banking performing assets that were weighing down on the balance sheets of banks is a work in progress and a major challenge.
RBI अपने जितनी भी नियम थे उनके तहत एक प्रयास कर रही थी. अब एक कदम हम लोगों ने उठाया है और अगले कुछ दिनों में उसके संबंध में जो कार्रवाई होगी, ये जो हम बैंकिंग रेगुलेशन का जो ऑर्डिनेंस लाए हैं उसके तहत मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि आने वाले कुछ दिनों में इसमें एक्टिव कार्रवाई उस मैकेनिज्म के तहत होगी.
Jaitley clarified that Civil Aviation Ministry will explore the mechanism to privatize Air India. He was also confident that GST will usher a revolution in tax administration. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now the look at the events that are lined up for the day in the day ahead. BJP President Amit Shah will undertake a 3-day tour to Kerala as part of the party's preparations for the 2019 general elections. During his visit, he would attend 21 party meetings. Shah will also meet bishops in Kochi on the first day as part of the BJP's efforts to build bridges with the minority community. Today is the Telangana State Formation Day. The state turns 3 today and massive preparations are on in the state to mark the event. The state was formed in 2014, making it the 29th and the youngest state in the country. Results of the controversial Rajasthan Cricket Association elections will be announced today. The polling process was over on 29th of May, but the sealed ballot boxes were kept in the government treasury till the High Court's directive. The former RCA President Lalit Modi's son Ruchir is fighting against senior Congress leader CP Joshi for the top post. Time for a very short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Harappan sites are a treasure trove of sophisticated pottery. These creations show tremendous advances by the potter's wheel. Creations like the perforated jar, the copper axe, the chisel and knives astound even present-day archaeologists. Figurines depicting yoga poses, chess pieces display a complexity unsurpassed even by later-day civilizations, all of which make the Harappan civilization truly unique.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, row over beef eating and cattle trade kept the political circles engaged on Thursday. Well, this despite Finance Minister Arun Jaitley's insisting that the new central notification will not interfere with the state laws on slaughtering animals. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley pressed that the animal markets are meant for farmers and not for traders. He also defended the last week's notification which said that the prohibition of cow slaughter mentioned in Article 48 of the Constitution is not an enforceable article but a directive or principles of state policy and mandates that the states have to bring laws to ban cow slaughter. Big story coming in from Maharashtra, where incidents of violence, including attempt to disrupt the supply of vegetables and milk to Mumbai and other cities, marked a farmers' strike which started on Thursday. Now, the farmers have launched the agitation to press various demands, including a loan waiver. Curfew was imposed in Yola, Nashik district, where 14 policemen were injured in stone pelting. Protesters in Satara, Kolhapur and Nashik districts tried to disrupt the supply of milk and vegetables to Mumbai late on Thursday. The traders in Mumbai claim that they have not been affected by the stir, but the supply of various articles from production centres would be affected if the strike continued. Meanwhile, Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, while expressing a willingness to hold talks with the agitating farmers, alleged that it was the opposition, NCP and the Congress who are instigating them. Now, a committee has been asked to suggest measures to resolve farmers' issues.
सरकार कुछ नहीं देख रहा इधर आ रहा वो आता है उधर वो आता है लेकिन वो कुछ नहीं कर सकता है इसलिए हम लोग आज के लिए सब बंद किया हमारा दूध बंद है सब्जी बंद है सब लोग बंद है
शेतकरी आत्महत्या कर रहा है उनको भाव नहीं मिल रहा है अभी आप तुरी का ही देखो वो सब पड़ा है सड़ रहा है लेकिन शेतकरी कुछ नहीं सरकार कुछ नहीं कर रही है सरकार है अच्छे दिन आएंगे लेकिन किधर अच्छे दिन आए
जब तक सरकार किसान की कर्ज मुक्ति नहीं करती उत्पादन खर्च अधिक 50% मुनाफा इसका ये बना के किसान के अनाज या धान्य को भाव नहीं देती तब तक ये हमारा आंदोलन चलने वाला है।
सरकार के दरवाजे पूरे तरीके से खुले हैं। हम लगातार बातचीत कर रहे हैं। हम आगे भी बातचीत करेंगे। हमने उनको बातचीत के लिए निमंत्रित किया है और मुझे लगता है कि अगर किसानों के हितैषी होंगे और किसानों के हित में काम करना चाह रहे होंगे तो निश्चित रूप से वो हमारे साथ बातचीत करके इसमें से मार्ग निकालेंगे। सरकार ने सारे विकल्प खुले रखे हुए हैं। सरकार किसी बात पर अड़ी हुई नहीं है। जितनी मांगे है वो सारी मांगों पर हम सकारात्मक है तो मुझे लगता है कि इस प्रकार से हड़ताल को समाप्त कर दिया जाना चाहिए। विशेष रूप से नगर जिला, पुणे जिले का कुछ भाग और नासिक जिले में ये प्रखरता से हुआ है। मराठवाड़ा के 1-2 गांवों में वो हुआ है, कुछ कृषि उत्पन्न बाजार समितियों में हुआ है और कुल मिलाकर वो पीसफुल रहा है। लेकिन कुछ जगह थोड़ा सा पत्थरबाजी भी हुई है। मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि किसानों के नेता ऐसी पत्थरबाजी नहीं कर सकते। निश्चित रूप से कुछ राजनीतिक पार्टी के कार्यकर्ताओं ने इसकी आड़ में पत्थरबाजी करने का प्रयास किया है।
सरकार सभी किसानों के साथ, किसान नेताओं के साथ बातचीत करने के लिए तैयार है। ये हल निकलना जरूरी है। बातचीत के माध्यम से ही कोई प्रश्नों का हल निकल सकेगा।
News from the north of the country. Tremors were felt in Delhi and other parts of northern India after a moderate intensity earthquake measuring 5 on the Richter scale today hit Haryana. As per the Met Department, the epicenter of the quake was the Rohtak district in Haryana. Now, the depth of the quake was 22 kilometers and it occurred in the early hours this morning. There were no reports of any loss of life or damage to property.
हमारी रिकॉर्डिंग के हिसाब से ये आज सुबह 4:25 पे ये भूकंप महसूस किया गया है। ये रीजन रोहतक हरियाणा में है। ये डिस्ट्रिक्ट रोहतक हरियाणा से है। 5 मैग्नीट्यूड का रिएक्टर स्केल पे है और इसकी डेप्थ जो है ज़मीन से 22 किलोमीटर नीचे यहाँ पे है। ये एक्चुअली मॉडरेट अर्थक्वेक होते हैं जैसे 5 का, तो अभी तक तो कोई किसी प्रकार की हानि या नुकसान या किसी बिल्डिंग के कोलैप्स होने या किसी प्रकार की कोई जानकारी अभी तक मिली नहीं है। और जहाँ तक है कि मॉडरेट अर्थक्वेक के साथ नहीं होगा उतना ज़्यादा, बस भूकंप के झटके जो है आसपास महसूस किए गए लोगों के द्वारा।
And for more news from across the country, let's go nationwide. The Election Commission has pulled out from its strong rooms in Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Uttarakhand 14 electronic voting machines used in the recent assembly polls for the 3rd of June EVM challenge. NCP and the CPIM will participate in the challenge. It will begin at 10 in the morning and end at 2 in the afternoon. Members of a technical committee would judge the proceedings. At least 13 Naxals were arrested by security forces from Chintralnal and Chintagufar areas in Sukma district of Chhattisgarh. The Naxals were arrested in a joint operation carried out by the district force and the district reserve group. A Delhi court granted bail to the AIADMK Amma faction leader TTV Dinakaran and his aide in connection with the Election Commission bribery case. The court directed them to furnish a personal bond of 5 lakh rupees each and 2 sureties of the like amount. They are not allowed to leave the country without the permission of the Election Commission and they have to surrender their passports. Now, days after the International Court of Justice stayed Kulbhushan Jadhav's death sentence, now Pakistan on Thursday said that it would not execute Kulbhushan Jadhav until he has exhausted all his mercy appeals. In a statement, Pakistan's Foreign Office spokesperson Nafeez Zakaria said that irrespective of the stay by the ICJ, Jadhav will remain alive until he has exhausted the right to request for clemency, initially with the army chief and later with the president. Zakaria said that the statement was aimed at addressing certain misrepresentations made in the Indian media following the ICJ's provisional measures order in the Jadhav's case. Kulbhushan Jadhav, who was awarded capital punishment by a Pakistani military court, was given relief by the ICJ in May when the court asked Pakistan not to execute Jadhav until its final verdict. The next hearing of the Kulbhushan Jadhav case is scheduled on 8th of June in the ICJ. Big story coming in from the Philippines, where at least 36 bodies were found at a casino complex in the capital, Manila. This after a lone gunman started a fire in the building. Now, most of the dead appear to have suffocated from the thick smoke after the man set fire to the casino tables. The gunman began shooting at TV monitors in the resort's World Manila in the early hours today. Police said that he later killed himself by setting himself on fire. The incident sparked a security lockdown. Police said that the incident appeared to have been a robbery attempt and was not terror-related. More than 50 people have also been sent to a hospital to be treated for injuries.
Patay na siya. Sinunog niya sarili niya. Na-recover yung kanyang baril na isang submachine gun na maliit at saka isang short firearm na apparently 380, caliber 380. Nandun rin, nasunog rin kasama niya sa bed na hinigaan niya.
And on to cricket news now. England's batting mainstay Joe Root slammed an unbeaten century as the team thrashed Bangladesh by 8 wickets in the ICC Champions Trophy opener on Thursday. Root, not out at 133, was the top scorer for England, while opener Alex Hales fell 5 short of a century to help their team chase a target of 306. Root was adjudged the man of the match for his sublime knock. Now, skipper Ian Morgan also played an unbeaten knock of 74 off 55 balls as England cruised home without any trouble. Earlier put into bat first, Bangladesh did well to post a 305 for 6, with opener Tamim Iqbal marking his 9th ODI 100. It seemed that Bangladesh would get close to 330 runs, but England fought back through Liam Plunkett, who dismissed Iqbal and Rahim off successive balls in the 45th over. Meanwhile, 2015 world champions Australia will take on New Zealand in their first match of the 8-nation tournament at Birmingham's Edgbaston ground today. Group A pits together Australia, New Zealand, England and Bangladesh, while Group B sees India, South Africa, Sri Lanka and Pakistan battling it out for a place in the semi-finals. News from the Roland Garros now, and world number 1 Andy Murray and Stan Wawrinka have reached the 3rd round of the men's singles. While Murray came from a set down to beat Slovakian Martin Kilzan 6-7, 6-2, 6-2, 7-6, world number 3 Wawrinka defeated Ukraine's Alexander Doglopolov 6-4, 7-6, 7-5 in the second round match. The 7th seed Marin Cilic also moved to the 3rd round after straight sets victory over Konstantin Kravchuk of Russia. Juan Martin Del Potro as well as John Isner also progressed to the next round. Meanwhile, from the Indian squad, Rohan Bopanna and his partner Gabriela Dabrowski made a positive start to their mixed doubles campaign. The Indo-Canadian combination notched up a 6-0, 6-1 win over Australian pair of Jessica Moore and Matt Reid in their opening match that lasted just 39 minutes. And from the world of badminton, Saina Nehwal and B. Sai Praneeth made short work of their opponents in the women's and men's singles respectively to reach the quarterfinals of the Thailand Open Grand Prix badminton tournament. Second seed Saina Nehwal beat Ying Ying Lee of Malaysia 21-11, 21-14 in a 40-minute match to set up a clash with the Japanese qualifier Haruko Suzuki. The Singapore Open champion Praneeth beat 9th seed Malaysian opponent 21-13, 21-18. The 3rd seeded Indian will now face Thailand's Kantaphorn Wang Chowren today. However, it was curtains for promising Saurabh Verma and Sai Uttajit Rao in the men's and women's singles competitions respectively. 12th seed Saurabh fought hard before going down narrowly 16-21, 25-23, 11-21 to his French opponent, while Sayujita Rao also went down in straight games to her Thailand opponent. That's it from me and my team in this edition of News. Thanks for watching.